If I could go back and start my business journey over again, there's one thing I wish someone had told me on day one. Just one simple insight. And honestly, it would have saved me time of spinning my wheels, second-guessing every decision, and watching other people pass me by. So, here's what happened. At first, I spent my time doing what I thought was the right thing. I read every business book I could find. I watched every YouTube video with a title like, How to Start a Six-Figure Business. I filled notebooks like I was prepping for final exams. I took online courses, joined Facebook groups, listened to podcasts on double speed. I was so sure I was doing the smart thing. I even made massive spreadsheets comparing business models, ran surveys, conducted interviews, built a 20-page business plan that looked like something NASA would use to land a rover on Mars. But you know what I didn't have after all that effort? Not one single customer. And that's the trap so many of us fall into, especially those of us who love learning. We think we need to know everything before we can start anything. We confuse preparation with progress. But here's what I learned the hard way, and yeah, it might sound a little crazy at first. The best business education doesn't come from perfect plans. It comes from real customers. Let me break this down for you. The biggest mistake I made? I treated business like college. In school, you study first, then you take the test. But business doesn't work like that. In business, you take the test first, and then you learn from the results. I was trying to get an A+ on a test that didn't even exist yet. I was building a business in theory, but not in reality. Here's what I do differently today, and what I hope you'll seriously consider doing if you're just starting out. Step 1. I'd give myself exactly 1 week, not a month, not 6, not a year, just 7 days to research my market. That's it. 1 week to figure out who I want to help and what problem I want to solve. Enough to be informed, not stuck. Then I'd move on. Period. No endless research rabbit holes, no more just one more book before I start. Just enough clarity to act. Step 2. I'd create something I call a minimum viable offer. Not a product and offer, something I could start selling tomorrow. Even if it's just my time, my skills, or my expertise packaged into something valuable. Because here's the truth. You can't validate a business idea with opinions. You validate it with money. Real customers, real transactions. Free feedback is nice, but paid feedback? That's gold. Step 3. I'd go get my first customer before I build anything. And I mean anything. No logo, no website, no fancy name, no Instagram handle. Just me, my offer, and one person who's willing to pay me for what I do. Why? Because once you have that first paying customer, that proof of concept, everything else starts to click into place. You get clarity, you get confidence, you get direction. But here's where most people mess up, and I say this with love because I did the same thing. We think we have to be perfect before we can ask for money. We think we need a polished product, a flawless pitch, a logo designed by an agency in Paris. That's backwards thinking. Your customers don't want perfection. They want results. They want help. And sometimes a messy, imperfect solution that actually works is worth more than the polished, pretty solution that doesn't exist yet. Let me say that again. Messy, but done perfect, but pending. Now I know what you might be thinking. But what if I fail? What if I don't know enough yet? What if I make a mistake and look stupid? Here's the truth. You're going to fail anyway. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get things wrong. That's part of it. That's the cost of entry. The real question is, do you want to fail fast and cheap or slow and expensive? Because here's what happens when you actually start taking action. Even small, imperfect action, the market begins to talk to you. And if you're paying attention, it will tell you everything you need to know. When you finally stop planning and start selling, something incredible happens. Your customers start teaching you lessons no podcast or mentor ever could. They tell you exactly what they needed. They show you what they are willing to pay for. They tell you why the other options out there aren't cutting it. It is like having a cheat code to product development. Within 90 days of making this mindset shift, you'll have your first profitable month. Not because you got smarter, not because you worked harder, but because you finally started listening to the people you were trying to serve instead of listening to your own fears and assumptions. So if you're stuck in research mode, endlessly planning, preparing, waiting for the right time, here's your assignment. This week, not next month, not after you finish that course. This week, go find one person who has the problem you want to solve. Have a conversation. Don't pitch, just ask. Would you pay me to help you with this? If they say yes, congratulations, you have a business. If they say no, that's valuable too. Now you get to pivot and try again. Because here's what nobody tells you about entrepreneurship. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to ask the right questions over and over again. You don't need a perfect roadmap. You need momentum. You don't need 100 customers. You need one. You don't need permission. You need courage. So the real question is this: how much longer are you going to let perfect be the enemy of profitable? If you found this helpful and want me to personally help you transform from an overwhelmed beginner into a confident, successful entrepreneur, you can join my Beginner's Market Entry Decisions Guide below.